Flagstaff, Arizona. The Spiritual Productions on Blog Talk Radio and freeconferencing.com, establishing and maintain, and also Ustream, establishing and maintain relationships with new bodies. Aloha and welcome to tonight's Golden Age Paranormal Experience Show. Tonight we're here with Marietta, Reverend Marietta White, all the way out of New York. Aloha, Marietta. Reverend Marietta.
Aloha, everyone.
And thank you for being here. Tonight we'll be talking about Bigfoot and beyond, and we're going to be going into that. In the meantime, I do want to give a big aloha to all of our underwriters that help make this show happen from week to week, month to month, year to year, beginning with Maha Dikini Laureate at www.mahadikini.com. Maha Dikini Laureate's life has been a personal journey exploring sexuality and spirituality for over 20 years. She's a certified tantric counselor and tantric healer, and a certified mind teacher. Maha Dikini Laureate is also a graduate of Margot Nong's year-long Sky Dancing Tantra Facilitator Training Program, and is a current member of the American Association of Sex Educators, Counselors, and Therapists Club, as well as a charter member of the Association of Sexual Energy Professionals. She regularly attends trainings and conferences to keep current with the latest research and information on sexual education. And then we have the 90-Day Ascension Journey at www.90dayascensionjourney.com. When you sign up for the 90-Day Ascension Journey, you will be facilitated with defining and redefining your soul true life purpose. You will be assisted with finding out what Ascension means to you. On this journey, you will be provided with tools, techniques, and assistance to empower you to connect and reconnect with yourself, your emotions, and feelings in your mind, body, and spirit. The Universal Soul Center process, you will be going through a lifelong transformation that will allow you to move forward with your endeavors and never look back if you dare. And for those of you that are interested, I wrote the book for this to supplement this journey several months ago. And so if you go to the 90dayascensionjourney.com or spiritualmishproductions.com, there's a gift there that shows a picture of the book. You can click on that page, and that'll give you more information about the book and a place where you can order it either from there or from Amazon.com or Kindle. You can do it however you want. So, anyhow, we also have the 2016 Star Wars USA UFO Symposium, Art, Music, and UFOs, The Evolution of Human Consciousness, at www.starworksusa.com. Join us for the 6th Annual Star Wars USA UFO Symposium, Art, Music, and UFOs, The Evolution of Human Consciousness, at the Aquarius Casino Resort in Laughlin, Nevada, from the 11th to the 13th of November. It is hosted by Paula L. Harris, who is producer of Star Wars USA, also an investigative journalist and author, and also Ron James, who's host and founder of iVolve TV. The weekend includes a dinner gala, a tea-day buffet, and other speakers including Karen Ong, who we talked to last weekend, and Karen Grisham-Nickel, who we'll be talking to on Sunday. We also have Mike Barra, Erica Lukes, Jennifer Stein, Paul Davis, Douglas Tater, Barbara Lamb, Dr. Stephen Greer, Richard Gonzalez out of Peru, and Giuliano Falciani out of Italy as well. So you can come and check it out. There's still plenty of tickets left, I believe, or some tickets left anyhow. And you can, if you happen to see me there, give me a big high five, let me know you're there, and then I'll go from there. Tonight we're gonna be talking about Bigfoot and beyond, and just to get this show on the road and started, what I want to do is define what Bigfoot is. Bigfoot is also known as Sasquatch, also the name given to a mythological simian ape or hominid like creature that is said to inhabit forests, mainly in the Pacific Northwest. In American folklore, Bigfoot is usually described as a large, hairy, bipedal humanoid. The term Sasquatch is an anglicized derivative of the Halcomelon word. And now, before I go on, Marietta, can you hear me still?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, because I don't know if that idiot that used to cut us off is back again cutting us off, and so I don't know what his game plan is for today. So I'm just kind of working with it. So anyhow, Let me see. The term Sasquatch is an angelicized derivative of the Halcomelon word Saskets. Scientists discount the existence of Bigfoot and consider it to be a combination of folklore, misidentification, and hoax rather than a living animal because of the lack of physical evidence and the large numbers of creatures that would be necessary to maintain a breeding population. Occasional new reports of sightings sustain a small group of self-described investigators. Most reports of sightings are attributed to being various animals, particularly black bears. So, and you said earlier that you had a slightly different definition of what Bigfoot is, and go ahead with that, Marietta.
Well, I don't know so much as the definition, but I'll talk about it in a few minutes where they actually have taken blood samples, and I'll explain how they did that. They've actually taken blood samples where they've been able to do scientific tests on it, and I can't remember if it's the DNA or the chromosome, but it turns out to be every time one different from human. So they're not sure if there's, a possibility that this could be like a Neanderthal or some other type of being that actually is very close to human related. A lot of behaviors seem very human, yet they also seem very monkey-like in a way sometimes. It just depends, but they seem to have a very high intelligence. And if you go online and research, and I should have given you the names to look, but I didn't do that. There are Bigfoot sightings, several up to as much as 50, 60 a month every year, every month.
Oh, really?
There's constant reports of sightings. They're reported in every single state in the United States and in most foreign countries. And the only state they're not reported in is Hawaii. They are, as far as I know, there's never been a sighting in Hawaii.
I guess they can't swim very good or something, huh?
It's not just in out west. Actually, some of the higher sighting areas are Washington, Oregon, but also Ohio and New York State.
I guess they can't swim very good, so they don't go to Hawaii, huh?
That would be my guess. They did not. That would be my guess. Yes. And a lot of countries have reports, and the descriptions of them vary from country to country, but are consistent for that country. Like up in the higher, like I think it's the Alps, they're white. They tend to be white and short. In the United States, the most common one is tall, very tall. Ranges anywhere from 6 foot for females to 8 and 9 feet for males. And they're usually dark. However, in Ohio, they have a very large population in Ohio that are very tall and thin. They don't look at all like what we've seen on TV. They're very slender, very thin, very tall, very lanky, very long arms, hairy, but they're white or gray. They aren't brown at all.
Oh, really?
They all seem to have the dermal ridge on top, which I'll explain that when we get to that too. So,
no. One of the things about these people, these creatures, these beings, is that they also smell like a cesspool. I mean, like they really smell obnoxious.
Yes, one of my children describes, well, 2 of my children described them as they had a close encounter. I'll tell about that in a minute. They came into the house describing it smelling like a garbage can.
Exactly. Because I remember.
My thought on that was it's probably very similar to a dog that would roll on something dead. They probably are, multi-scavengers, which I think we had that. It was well on our property.
Yeah.
And so they're probably rolling in it and whatever, and do smell like a garbage can.
Because I know they have sightings here in Flagstaff. I was just looking at a video or listening to one. I didn't get to hear all of it, but there was one here in Flagstaff where some people sighted some Bigfoot. And I've talked to other people that have told me they've sighted Bigfoot here in Flagstaff as well. And I remember in the area where these people are talking about, There's some woods. There's all kinds of areas to camp out here, and there's a place between here and Sedona on I-89A where there's a couple of camping areas. And I was there. Literally, I was there. I don't know, a few years ago, camping, and I was in my car, and I don't know. I felt a really weird energy to begin with, and so I was just minding my own business and trying to get some sleep and getting ready to go to sleep, and all of a sudden I felt this really weird energy, and I smelled this obnoxious smell, and I felt like there was a presence there. And I don't know if it was a Bigfoot, but I can tell you what, there was a really obnoxious smell. I don't know if elk smell that bad as well. I don't know. I don't think that they do. They might smell, not have a great smell either. But this was a really obnoxious smell, and I just covered my head and just relaxed, and then all of a sudden after I don't know 20, 30 minutes, finally the feeling went away and the energy went away, whatever it was, and then I woke up in the morning and got up and took off. But I believe there have been sightings of Bigfoot in the area where I was at, and I wasn't, there was nobody else around except me at the time. I don't know if that was a Bigfoot or not, but I can tell you what, I sure felt like I'm not really sure. So anyhow,
they quite often on our campgrounds. So it's not unusual for that. People are often find like footprints and things like that around campgrounds. I think they come because they smell the smoke and the food and all that kind of stuff, and they're very curious. I'll talk to that too, but they have a tremendous amount of curiosity.
Yeah,
and the other comment I might make too is I lived where we were having a lot of our sightings. I lived in the forest. I was inside the forest, no neighbors, quite a distance from neighbors. And we had many deer in our yard. We lived in an area which is very close to where I live now, it's only half a mile away. There was what I termed a bear walk. Bears travel on only one trail, and they will never leave that trail when they're traveling. They'll get off, eat, get right back on the trail. If there's a tree in the way, they'll climb over it rather than go around it if they can. Many bears come into our yard. I never smelled any of the bears. They didn't have a bad smell. They just kind of smelled like a normal.
Yeah, exactly, right.
And we had very close encounters. So the ghost clan thing doesn't hold up with bear just even on the smell.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying is that even if it was an elk, I don't think that the smell of an elk is really that horrendous. If even was right next to you, I don't think it would smell that horrendous. And this was a horrendous, like a cesspool type of smell, and it was really obnoxious. Oh my God, I had to cover up my nose. So that's about the closest I've ever come to a Bigfoot, if it was a Bigfoot. And I don't know, it may have just been checking me out to see who I was, what I was doing, and that was about it. And then it took off and left me alone after a while. Now, the other thing about the Bigfoot, again, its other name is Sasquatch. I believe that they're also related to the Yeti. Are you familiar with the Yeti?
Yeah, there's several different names throughout the world that they go by. That they do believe they're all similar. They don't know for sure.
Yeah, I believe that the Yeti is the same family as Bigfoot, but I don't think they're one and the same creature or being. They've had some sightings of Yetis in Sedona. I lived with this one guy. Yeah, I lived with this one guy in a dome home, and he said that he had seen a Yeti there on his property a number of times. And now what he told me, and what I've heard from other people, I think, is that these Yetis, they come in through portals and they appear on their property and do whatever, and then they disappear through these portals and go into another world. So the Yetis literally are not of this world. They're literally from a different world, and it's the same thing as the Bigfoot, as Sasquatch. then they too are not from this world, and they too are most likely coming in from different portals and different locations where they can where they disappear and go into another world, and then they come back into this world whenever they want or whatever, however they do it. That's what I think is going on, and that's why they have a hard time finding or capturing these beings, because they probably are more advanced and evolved than most people think they are, and they might actually be very highly evolved, and people don't even realize it or think about that. So, and that's why they're able to get away all the time. Go ahead.
No, I think that's possible. It's hard to know. If you go back to the Uglala Sioux, and Black Elk speaks to one of his first books written about him, and I think it was biography. There was a mention in there, and he told about, and Black Elk was one of the last great Indian medicine men. He even spoke at the White House, and
really?
You could write books on him, and there have been. Anyway, his Uglala Sioux, he said the legend for the Uglala Sioux was that a UFO came down from the sky, and it pushed the Bigfoot out of it and went off and left them. And the Bigfoot communicated to them that they actually were a food source for the UFOs, and that they were trying to start a breeding population on the Earth.
Oh, interesting.
During the winter, they were able to communicate. I don't know how they communicated, but they seemed to communicate a lot with them. The Indians considered them another tribe, and they held up in some caves. And during the winter, they weren't doing too well, and the Indians kept them alive by bringing them food through the first winter that they were there. And that was written up in one of his books.
And again,
if you go to Whitley Strieber, he has, and I don't remember which book that was in, he has a mention in there, and this has been mentioned in several other UFO books, and I'm not sure I agree, but it's been mentioned in several other UFO books, seeing them, or at least beings that look very much like them, working in conjunction with other UFO beings on some of the ships that are the larger ships that have a variety on them of different types of people, like the Greys and the tall people and stuff like that. There is some mention there of seeing what they thought were Bigfoot actually working.
Now again, if I'm correct, and these beings are going in and out of portals, then it's possible that they may also be living underground, like towards the center of the earth as well. In fact, have you
some thought on that also, that they may live underground?
What's that?
There is some thought that they may live underground. In fact, I think it was in Ohio, but I forgot. It was either Michigan or Ohio about 2 years ago. There was actually a news article on. They were hearing all kinds of things that sound like something working underneath the ground under a large area, and they couldn't identify what it was, and they kept thinking that it was something like that because they felt that something was living under the ground.
Yeah, because I've heard about these tall beings that live literally in the center of the earth, and they I don't know how long they've been there for, but apparently they live there. They've been there for a number, I don't know, for who knows how long. And
we actually unearthed, and I can't remember where that was. It was in another country, but I actually had a movie on it, a documentary, where they had these. It would look just like there was whole villages underground. They can't figure out where they come from or why they're there, but it goes down many stories down into the ground. And they said that it had everything in there, all kinds of, they could identify living quarters and work areas and all kinds of stuff, but they had no idea why it's there. I'll try to get that because it's a Netflix documentary. And they just said they couldn't understand it because it looked like there was a huge population that had lived there. It was no longer being used, but they actually had videos that took you right down and showed you the different rooms and stuff.
Wow.
Quite interesting.
Yeah. And so, and if that's the case, that may be another place or the place where the Bigfoots are coming from in the center of the earth. Apparently,
they also the UFOs go underground sometimes too. There's been quite a few reports on that where they just go and often they go into water, but also there's been some reports where they just kind of end up coming up out of the ground or going down into the ground.
I
hope that people out there, if they've had some neat experiences where they've seen anything, I would appreciate if they would, give us a call or give us a call tonight.
Email us,
share their experiences.
Yeah.
Or if you're a little shy on doing that, I'd love to hear from somebody. They could send me a text message. I'll give my phone number a couple times. My number is 607-873-3947. 607-873-3947. And you can send me a text. I won't reply quickly because I don't have service at my home, but I will reply to you and give you a call. I would like a phone because I don't have good internet service where I am.
Yeah. So, now my only other experience with Bigfoot was when I was a kid. I was living in Grizzly, California, and a fire broke out in the place of residence where I was at, and we ended up having to relocate to the outskirts of the town. It's a small town, and so I had these nightmares. I would literally wake up, and it felt like I kept thinking that Bigfoot was sitting on top of me, sitting on me, and I could hardly breathe, and I felt paralyzed. I couldn't even say anything. I couldn't yell, scream, or make even a sound. And I was horrified because I felt like there was a Bigfoot sitting on top of me. And that went on for about an hour or two. I don't know how long, and then finally the whole thing went away. And then I'd get up and I'd go to the bathroom or something, and I would just be horrified. So and I had this big fear of Bigfoot for years after that. I don't know how many times this happened, but this whole experience kept happening over and over. I don't know, for several days. I don't know, for a few weeks, a couple of weeks, 2 or 3 weeks. I don't know how long, a month. And it was just like, and I don't know if I told my mother about it, and I think I even ended up wetting my bed because I was so scared and I couldn't move, and I was so paralyzed. So it was just, and my mother was like completely just dumbfounded. I don't think she knew what the heck was going on, and I think she was freaking out because of everything, because I was wet in my bed, and I was, 10 years old at the time, and so, but she didn't know how horrified I was from all this whole situation was, and so it was just pretty out of this world. So, and then like I said, for years I had this real big fear of Bigfoot. I was like completely scared of this guy, and then after a while, and even when I experienced him, when I think I experienced him a few years ago, I was pretty scared there too, but I wasn't nearly as scared as I was when I was a kid. So it was a lot more. I was more curious than scared at that time, and so but like I said, I had that smell. There was a huge smell, and that was really obnoxious. So it was kind of. So what else you got?
That's kind of a classic UFO abduction claim,
Yeah, and that's what I was thinking. I mean, over the years, I thought about that, and I thought, I wonder if I got abducted during that time frame. And that would be a typical scene of being abducted. So.
That's how a lot of people have explained it to me, their experiences. They didn't. No one has actually said it looked like a Bigfoot, but I've had a lot of people experience what you just said.
Yeah, and so and I know there's been other people that experienced some similar stuff, and they were actually abducted, and whatever happened. And I don't know. I've inquired a number of times about whether or not I was abducted. and I kept getting no, and then finally, the last time that Nick Pope, or that guy that we brought in last time, Reverend Pope, remember him?
Yep. Yep.
He mentioned something about being psychically abducted, and so I inquired about that, and I got a yes. So I don't know what that means, and how long that.
Sorry, I didn't catch what you meant.
Oh, you know what? We've been cut off. Hang on a second.
Okay. I can hear you. I just didn't understand.
No, we got cut off from Blog Talk Radio, I think. Well, hang on a second. No, we're still there. So that's interesting. I'm wondering if we can, if I'm able to bring in more than one conference call into this phone. That's interesting because I've never seen that before. So let me see if this will play. We can hear it. Yeah, we can hear that. So that's interesting. Usually when I'm on conference call, somebody tries to call, they can't get through at all. So I mean, it's automatically blocked, and so that's kind of weird. So anyhow, now what were you saying earlier? Just before I got rudely interrupted by
I forgot. I just said the way you were describing is very classic to what people have described to me about their UFO abduction.
Yeah. And so I don't know what it means to be psychically abducted, and it's from what I understand from what this Reverend Pope person was talking about. It's not even a physical abduction. It's not even it might be an etheric, like an out-of-body experience type of thing. I'm not sure, but I don't think it's a physical thing, if it is. And I've never heard of a psychic abduction before, up until
I haven't either.
Until I heard it from him. So I don't know what that means. And I don't know if that's a good thing or not, and I don't know. I mean, that brings up a lot of questions. I don't know, what any of that means. So I don't know. So I tell you what, let's do that. Let's go ahead and play some music, and we'll take a breather, and then we're gonna come back and let's do that. Let's play this song called what was it? No. We Are Love by Shamanixtrix Misty Galore from her album Shamanixtrix Misty Galore. Let's send out love, blessings, healing, angels, light, and love to all the Bigfoots out there, to all the people here on the phone lines and chat rooms, to all our family and friends, to all our vehicles. Hang on a second. To all our places of residence that take care of us. You're not gonna believe this, but I decided because I want to get a trampoline, so I decided to give it a test whirl and jump on my bed. Believe it or not, I jumped on my bed, and because I want to get a trampoline so I can start working with that. Marietta, I jumped on my bed for 5 minutes. I don't even think it was 5 minutes. And for the last 2 or 3 days, I've been so sore like no tomorrow from just doing that. Can you do that? It's out of this world. I would never even have guessed.
You better exercise more.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's what I want to do. But I wanted to try to give it a whirl and see how how it feels. And boy, I know how it feels now for sure. No doubt about it. That's for sure. So yeah, for those of you that are watching this on Ustream, I got the album on the picture on the video screen, so you can check that out for yourself and go from there. But let's send out love, blessings, healing, angels of light and love to my poor body, and to our family and friends, to the President of the United States, all his family and friends. To all those running for office and all their people, to the elections. Listen to love, blessings, healing, angels, light, love to the elections. That all the most divine, upright, spirited people be elected, and and the most straightforward people to be elected, and then also let's send out love, blessings, healings, angel, light, love to all the animals and the plants and the children, the kids on the planet, especially the ones that need concern. To, of course, to planet Earth, and to all the aliens out there, especially the ones that are needing concern. Anybody else want to add to that, Marietta?
Well, I think you covered it pretty well there.
All right, to everyone else in needing concern, we will be back. We are loved by Shamanitics, Misty Galore.
We are love, and we are light. We are one, 3D life. Thank you, Mama Earth, for birthing us. Gratitude, we are your stardust. Mixed with water, you human form. Of our love and be reborn. We are love, and we are light. We are water, 3D light. Thank you, Mama Earth, for birthing us. Gratitude, we are your stardust. Mixed with water, into human form. Of our love and be reborn. In love we share, radiate everywhere from the singularity to infinity. We are love, and we are light. We are water, 3D life. Thank you, Mama Earth, for birthing us. Gratitude, we are your stardust. Mixed with water into human form. So awesome and be reborn. Love you, family. Gratitude and blessed be all creation. One love, all creation. One love, may the love we share radiate everywhere from the singularity to infinity. We are love, and we are light. We are water, 3D light. Thank you, Mama Earth, for birthing us. Gratitude, we are your stardust. Mixed with water into human form. Oh, our love can be reborn. Love you, family. Gratitude and blessed be our creation. One love, our creation. One love, may the love we share radiate everywhere from the singularity to infinity. We are love, and we are light, and we are water, 3D light. Thank you, Mama Earth, for birthing us. In gratitude, we are your stardust. Mixed with water, into human form. Of our love can be reborn. Love you, family. Gratitude and creation, wonder of creation, wonder is the love we share, rainy day everywhere, on the singularity, to infinity. We are love, and we are life. We all want to breathe life. Thank you, Mama Earth, for birthing us, brought us through the honest stardust. Mixed with water into human form, of all love and beauty born. Our creation, wonder, 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 even the we share, rainy day everywhere, from the singularity to infinity.
And we're back. This is Aloha live out of Flagstaff, Arizona with featurin Productions on Blog Talk Radio and freeconferencing.com and Ustream, establishing and maintaining right relationships in human body. Tonight we're talking about Bigfoot and beyond, and there's been we've defined what Bigfoot is in a sense of speaking, and even though the scientific community doesn't seem to acknowledge Bigfoot, they can kiss my butt, and they can just go find their own Bigfoot for themselves. We'll leave it at that. So anyhow, there's a lot of footage. If you go on YouTube, there's a lot of footage of Bigfoot, all kinds of sightings, all kinds of stuff. There's a video I just watched just now called "Frightened Campers Film a Scary Bigfoot Attack," and in that footage, there's the earlier Reverend Marietta White out of New York, who's with us now, described that there on the East Coast, the Bigfoots are gray, are silver-like Sasquatches, and that in this footage, that's what this Bigfoot looks like. It's a silver-like Sasquatch, and these kids are filming it, and then I don't know, the kids apparently disappeared, and they filmed the Bigfoot, and then they took off. All of a sudden, the Bigfoot was looking back at them, and then they took off running, and they didn't. They eventually they disappeared. They said that it says that the video says that they found some torn clothing, a shoe, and part of the backpack, and then the camera was found as well with this footage on there. So it's undetermined whether it's a hoax or not. In this day and age, anything can happen. People can make anything out of nothing. The way the special effects they are the way they are. There's no telling what people can do, or what people are willing to do, or what kind of stupid things that people will do. But there have been Bigfoot sightings here in Arizona, where I live out here in Flagstaff. In Sedona, there's been a Yeti sighting there that I know of at least one. There's some Bigfoot sightings. Reverend Marietta said that there's been sightings all over the country, in every state pretty much. Here I'm looking at a series of videos where there's sightings in northern Arizona, South Utah, Idaho, Utah's Basin Canyon, the Mongolian Rim, just all kinds of places here in the northern Arizona area. There's been sightings in New Jersey, They've had a Sasquatch sighting there. And one of the things that we talked about earlier is that I believe, and I'm almost sure of it, one in Montana there, sighting there, but the Yetis are not the same creature or the same being or same person as a Bigfoot. I think they're similar. They're of the same family, but they're not of the same being. And there have been Yeti sightings in Sedona, and yet the sightings there that I know about were of sightings where it is believed that the Yeti came into a portal, literally from another dimension, another universe, another world, and came into the property, did their thing, and then took off. And one of the significant things about these sightings, these Bigfoots, if you ever come across one, hopefully you won't, or hopefully it'll be in a safe way. But it's significant in the sense that they smell. I mean, like a sewer, like a really potent sewer, literally. They have a really lingering smell. It's really obnoxious. Again, years ago, I was sleeping in my car in the woods, and I had this all of a sudden this smell that came into my car, and it was really obnoxious. And then I had this feeling, like this really airy feeling, and it was really very weird, and it took me for a loop, and it was scary. It wasn't incredibly frightening, but it was scary. And then after about 30 minutes or so, the smell and the feeling went away, and then I just went to sleep, and then woke up in the morning and took off. So, but it's like that, and I don't know if it was a Bigfoot or not, and I don't know if it was, I'm assuming if it was a Bigfoot, they were just being curious and checking me out, and then took off. So, and maybe like you said, Reverend Marietta, that they were maybe searching for some food and didn't really get a whiff of anything, so finally they took off. And maybe they got something, a little bit of something or something, and then they took off. So anyhow, so what else you got about Bigfoot for us, Reverend Marietta?
Well, first of all, I thought I'd talk about some of the people. I get a lot of clients that come in and talk about their different experiences. And so I thought I'd mention some of the more recent ones that I had. And then also, I have a very large family and a lot of family experiences in the area we live in. I belong to, I haven't been active in quite a while now because I moved, but when I was in Ohio, I belonged to a very large Bigfoot research organization. It was headed up by John Keating at the time. He is now retired, and I'm not sure who's doing it now, but it was very serious scientific. Scientists are looking into this. It isn't just, people going out running around. It was very scientific. We had a lot of, TV directors and stuff would come in. A lot of high-up people would come in to sit in on the conferences. There's a conference every year on it. Draws a very large crowd, and it's all very serious. I have to say that I've seen probably more than 150 Bigfoot casts brought in by a lot of different people. The feet always look very similar. They do not look like human feet or monkey feet. They have a very different look to them. They have a ridge that runs about halfway through the middle of the foot, runs side to side, kind of a strange little ridge. I've seen some hair samples. There's been hair samples that have turned in and been scientifically investigated. They just can't identify them. And so there is a lot of scientific information out there being kept very quiet. I'm not quite sure why, but there are scientists that are investigating it. One of my most recent sightings was from one of my clients who came in to talk about something else, but really had that on his mind. And he lives in an area where they have a lot of high sightings in New York State, not too far from Watkins Glen International Racetrack. And there's an area there, well known to locals, about lots of sightings in that general area. He lives in a very wooded area, and there's a swamp back behind his house. And he's a hunter. He stepped outside, and he said his dogs were all acting kind of crazy and scared at him. And so he thought maybe there was some sort of bear or something out there, a wildcat or something stalking them. So he went out to see what it was, and he stood out there, and he said he noticed that there was absolutely no sound in the woods around him, where usually, the birds are singing and everything
exactly,
else
right.
in the daytime.
Mm-hmm.
And he says it was so silent. He said he'd never noticed that before. And so he took his gun, and probably not too wisely, but he shot into the swamp twice. Shot down into his lays below his house on a hill. And not expecting anything to happen, he thought he'd just scare away whatever might be out there that was scaring all his animals. And off to his right ran a Bigfoot. It was on two legs. He was standing near a highway. It's a back road, not really a highway, but like a back road. And it ran across the road, not too far from him. From one side to the other, he scared it up out of the swamp. And that was his first experience. He has had a couple experiences since then. But that's pretty classic. That's one of the things that's noted. Quite often when a Bigfoot is in the area, for some reason, everything gets quiet. The birds stop singing, the crickets stop making their noises. It just gets very, very quiet.
I mean, and now that you mention it, I remember the same thing when I was experiencing this thing in the woods a few years ago. I noticed the same thing. It was really quiet. Not even crickets or nothing were making noise or anything like that. So
that's one of the signs.
Yeah.
On another occasion, I was speaking with another client. She was referring to animals that would come out of the woods a distance from her, but they were standing up. They were walking on their hind feet, so to speak, or like a human would. And she described it as being extremely tall and appearing to watch her, which is very common. They often watch. They often peek behind trees and things too. She was unaware of the legends in that area about the Bigfoot that sighted in that general area. She was a ways away. She was about maybe 8-10 miles from the main part where it's most often reported.
Wow.
She had 2 incidents. Since that, just recently, about 3 weeks ago, one of her sons was hunting, who is a hunter, was hunting in that area for small game, and he came across one, and he said it came out of the edge of the woods, and it just stood there. It didn't do anything, but he said it definitely was not a bear. He was familiar with bears. It's not unusual. A few years back, and I'm going to say this was about 8 years ago, because I didn't really take time to look it up and see, in that same area, I believe it was on, I think it might have been Route 13, but I'm not sure if that goes up quite that far, but in that general area of Watkins Glen, they had fire trucks returning from a fire at night, and a whole truck full of firemen witnessed one run across the road in front of it.
Oh, wow.
It wasn't just one, and that was reported quite extensively all over the place.
And you said that was recently?
That one was a few years ago. That one happened a few years ago. The other ones I just mentioned all were within this last year, within a year's time.
Wow.
The last was the hunter that came out of the woods. That was only just a few weeks ago, like 3 weeks ago on that one. A lot of my children over the years, I did foster care for 22 years. So I had different children in my house at different times. They had never seen other children in my house, so they couldn't collaborate or anything. And I had several children of my own. Early on, starting way back when my children were young, first my oldest son, and then my next son, they would wait for the bus, and in those days you didn't worry too much about anything. And they would wait for the bus, and it was down away from the house, through the woods, but I could see it from my house. And they would be scared, and they would say they were afraid to stay down there because some man would come out of the woods and run across the road and go up into the other part of the woods in the morning while they're waiting for the bus. And I thought, yeah, they're just making up a story, and I didn't pay much attention. And then I had foster children, and often they would tell some story about something that went on in that area that just didn't quite make sense, and I kind of blew that off. And then I had, one time I had, the children were playing in the woods, which it was very expensive woods, and they lived in the woods most of the time. And I have to say, we had a lot of bear in our yard. It was very common for bear to be out there even when we were out there. Sometimes we'd be playing ball in the front yard, and the bear would be in the backyard because it was so dense. But they weren't afraid of us. We were so used to them, and we weren't afraid of them either. And so we all knew what a bear looked like really, really well.
Yeah, right.
One time, my kids were down in the woods playing, and there's a small creek with an embankment coming up. And they were climbing up over this bank. And as the last one come along, she was quite young. As she come along, something reached out of the bank and grabbed her ankle.
Were you talking about one of the bears?
Huh?
Somebody grabbed a bear by the ankle?
No, grabbed one of my daughters.
Oh!
Yeah, it reached straight out. It was in like they came up over the bank, and there was like a ledge with like a hollowed out area up under it, but not really, it didn't seem all that big. But it reached out and put its hand around her ankle.
Wow.
Grabbed her. It just kind of grabbed her, but it didn't like squeeze on her. It just kind of had its hand on her ankle. Her brother, who was a little older than her, saw what happened. He yanked her up on over the bank, and they claimed that it chased them.
Oh, wow.
It came out and chased them down through the woods on 2 feet. Well, bear don't run on 2 feet. They only stand 4 feet. A bear only raises up on its hind legs just for a few minutes. It doesn't stand on hind legs. Yeah,
exactly. They don't really run
on hind legs, anything like that.
Uh-huh.
So that was kind of one of our first ones. And they were on like an abandoned, it had once been a road in that area. But the area where it is in New York, not near Watkins Glen. It would be probably maybe 40, 50 miles from there. I'm not sure how. I'm not very clear on distance. But we had several experiences, just our family, not counting, what some neighbors had reported and things like that. I had my 2 children. All the kids had gone other places, so I had 2 children home. They went down to the road, and there's a creek that ran both beside my house and across in front of my house. They went down to the road, and they were playing down on a bridge. And as they started to cross the bridge, there was a Bigfoot standing in the creek, actually was squatting in the creek, going to the bathroom.
Oh, wow.
And it stood up and looked at them. So we were able to identify, later on, I'll explain how we did that, the height. And the thing was about 8 feet tall. Because of the height of the bridge, we could tell where his head was. And they said it looked at him and then turned around and climbed up this really steep bank. And this was 2 children. Those children, and at that point I kind of blew that off too. They went to visit someone and spend the night. And 2 children come home. Well, the 2 children that come home, I sent them with the garbage. This was about 3 or 4 days later. Excuse me. Sent them with the garbage down to the road, and as they're on the trail to the down, a bear walk comes along, crossing it. As they're coming down to the road, one approaches them and comes walking toward them on 2 feet on this trail through the woods. They described it very similar to the other. They described it as being red hair, where the other one was brown, and shorter. It wasn't as tall, and this one seemed to be female.
Oh. Interesting.
So they came up and told me about it.
So what did they throw away the trash and then come back?
So that I didn't hear you.
Did they get rid of the trash and then come back?
They left it there.
Oh.
Hold on just a second.
All right.
Sorry, I'm having an asthma attack.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you might be getting some rain down there coming through.
Yeah.
So,
Anyway.
I'll tell you what, let me go like this. We have a caller. I'm going to bring them in for a question. Area code 504, you're on the air. Aloha.
Oh, hey,
Yes.
I didn't realize I did that, but, I was just, wondering if you could speak about how crazy it feels with this full moon, or at least with my energy. It just seems like so much chaos, you know?
Well, first of all, what's your name, where are you located at, and how did you hear about it?
I was looking, and it looked really interesting. It's from Hawaii, correct?
Yeah, well, no, what's your name?
Yeah.
What's your first name? Huh?
Oh, I'm from Louisiana.
And what's your name?
Deborah.
Deborah. And then how did you hear about us?
From Blog Talk Radio.
Okay. So we've been talking about Bigfoot, and I don't know, do you have any experiences or information about Bigfoot yourself?
About Bigfoot?
Yes.
No, I was really just listening to see if, it was anything, about the energy and, not specifically about Bigfoot, but I'm just listening.
Okay, yeah, and I don't know, have you noticed any kind of weird energies from this full moon, this that's coming up, Reverend Marietta?
No, I haven't noticed any difference out here.
I mean, there seems to be some weird stuff going on now.
No?
Now, Halloween is coming up, and Halloween to me is the commercialized version of Dia de los Muertos that's been celebrated in South America and a lot of the other foreign countries for years and years. And so I think somebody literally commercialized it, and so they can make it funner or whatever, or make money from it. I don't know. So anyhow, that may have something to do with it. Years ago, I was camping out in Sedona, and all of a sudden, this ghost came, this cowboy, and it was right around, it was on, I think on the day of Dia de los Muertos, this cowboy just comes through, this ghost, the spirit, and didn't say a word, but just came into my space, and was there, and just sat there for, I don't know how long, several minutes, 20, 30 minutes, I don't know how long, and then it disappeared. And then the next day I learned that it was Dia de los Muertos. So ever since then, I realized it's a really good idea to honor your loved ones, those that have already gone on before you, so that you can literally be in sync and be in harmony and even be prosperous for the following year. So if you go to, in fact, Tucson will be celebrating Dia de los Muertos. It's probably one of the most biggest celebrated Dia de los Muertos that is out there right now in the whole United States. It's probably the biggest Dia de los Muertos celebration throughout the whole United States, and it's even bigger in Mexico, I believe. So anyhow, if you go there, there's literally a form that you can make fill out. In fact, I just did that yesterday. Of all those that you want to honor, and you list all those people that you want to honor. Have already gone before you, all the stuff that you're reading and you want to release and let go, and then literally on November 1st, you take it and you do a little prayer or whatever, or just offer it up to the universe and burn it and let it go. I've been doing that for like 2 or 3 years now, and I don't know if it's got anything to do with what I've been experiencing in terms of my prosperity or whatever or not, but it seems to me like my prosperity has been changing and all kinds of other stuff has been changing. So that might have something to do with it. I don't know, but you might want to consider that. Deborah.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense.
I mean,
that.
And it's only the 14th.
I've gotten more and more sensitive.
Yeah.
And I think they're trying to get my attention. I just never thought about that. And now that you're saying that, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, and literally, I've done that for like 2 or 3 years now, and it seems like things have been literally my abundance and prosperity has been shifting in a really good way, I think. And so, anyway. And so, but not only that, but your relatives and those that have gone on before you, when you honor them, then it also allows them and gives them permission to come in and help you and support you on the other side as well. A lot of times their hands are tied; they can't do anything until you actually honor them or ask them to or something like that, and then they can come in and support and help you. And when that happens, when you get support from on the other side, especially from your family and friends and your relatives and whatnot, all those people, then it makes a whole lot of difference in terms of what you come, what you came here to do as a soul, and what you're able to do as a soul as well. So, does that make sense to you?
Okay. It does. In fact, I was told to meditate, do all that, and I just, no, that makes sense. Thank you. I mean, I really appreciate that. I need to get back to more of my spiritual practice. That's kind of why I tuned in, just to be with like-minded folks.
Right. Well, thank you for stopping by. Anything you want to add to that, Reverend Marietta?
No, I guess not.
Okay.
I can't think of anything.
Well, thank you for stopping by.
Okay, I'll still keep listening.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Bye.
So, let me ask you this, Reverend Marietta. What do you think about these beings? Who are they? Where are they from? What do you think their intentions are for being here? Why are they here? I mean, I think you mentioned a little bit about it earlier, but I think there's more to it than that. That's what I think.
Well, I have mixed feelings on it. I feel that they are here all the time. I don't think I think it's possible that some come and go. But the number of sightings and the times of the sightings and things, they seem very, very much like they are here all the time, just because I get a lot of reports of different people talking about how often. There's a place in Ohio called Salt Fork State Park. It's a really big, beautiful place, lots of cabins and things, and a lake. They have constant sightings year-round. This is ongoing, and they will actually come right in. And actually, that's where I first met went to my first meeting on it. I stumbled into a Bigfoot conference that I didn't even know I was going to. I just happened to be there when it was going on. They have sightings there all the time. The area I lived in, Ohio, was about 45 minutes away from there. We had sightings there all the time. It wasn't like just once in a while or once a year. It was ongoing all the time. It was constantly somebody talking about it or in the news. You can go to Salt Fork. Anybody wants an experience, they can go there and stay, overnight, and they're apt to see something. Because so many people did see things there, and a lot of scientists would come in and kind of, look for DNA and stuff like that. I think they're there all the time. I think they're probably a species we just haven't totally, been able to round up, but that's not unusual. We're discovering new animals all the time.
Right.
The year something new comes out. They didn't believe gorillas existed until, just a few years ago. It wasn't that long. They discovered gorillas were real.
Huh.
Back in, 60, 70 years ago, something like that. So it's like, and they have all these different animals they're putting in the zoos now that they're just now finding. So.
Yeah, exactly.
And also there's another one that seems to be a lot more vicious, but they think that the chupacabra that's in, I think it's in South America, they think that could be a form of the Bigfoot too.
Huh.
It's a lot more vicious than the ones here. They're not all gentle. I've talked to Bigfoot hunters who are very serious about their hunting and do a lot of work with it. And they say that some of them are, they don't bother much, but sometimes if you enter their territory and you're invading too much of their space, they can get quite aggressive.
Huh. I don't know that I've known them to be aggressive, but that doesn't mean anything.
There have been quite a few cases of aggression. They had experienced some. But one of the classic cases is, I believe it's in somewhere in Canada. I don't remember the name of it now. They had and it's very typical that if they don't like you in their area, they throw rocks at you. And that also happens in Ohio sometimes with people out there. There was a hunting cabin way back in the wilderness that these guys would go to every year. And the first time they came back, they found the cabin very disturbed and torn apart, like something had broken in. And at first they just kind of wrote it off, didn't worry too much about it. That night, they had rocks thrown at them. One of the guys went outside to go to the bathroom, and something was throwing rocks at him from the And so he, went inside. They said all night long rocks pelted the tin roof. And so then they left, and they were done for the season or whatever. And then they came back the next year, and the cabin had been broken into, and just everything had been messed up. The refrigerator had been knocked over, and things had been ripped off the wall, and just all kinds of crazy stuff. And they said that when they talked to some scientists about it, they said it probably wasn't a bear that did it, because when a bear breaks in, they generally break holes in a refrigerator because the refrigerator smells to them like the insulation in it has a honey smell to it, the bears. So they almost always bite into it. This didn't have any bite-in marks. So they thought, well, we'll fix that. They're going to do that. We're not going to have that kind of business at our cabin. So when they closed up for the season, they took a big board and they put spikes through it so it's sticking up and put it in front of the entrance to the cabin. The next time they came back, there was a full footprint in blood on it where something had stepped in and bled a whole rag like into it. And they had the DNA checked on that, and it came out to be very close to human, but it had a really huge foot. Some of it they can get a complete true sample on because it had been there so long, but that was one time when they did get it, they got some hair samples with it. So that would be one case of where they were violent. There's another case of these guys building a road, and they got pelted with rocks also. And there's a case of some miners mining in the wilderness going back quite a few years, and they talked about that one kept terrorizing their camp. And so the one guy, they decided to pack up and leave, and so the one guy was left at camp, while the other guy went to do whatever it was he was doing, I think picking up his traps. And when he came back, the other guy had been killed.
Oh, really? Wow.
So they aren't always friendly. All the Bigfoot hunters that I know, they travel with their cameras because they aren't out there to kill it. They want to get proof, but they don't want to, contribute to a possible extinction either. But they do carry a gun because they say they're not always friendly. I had one friend, she went camping, and just to test to their curiosity, she goes with a group of men, and a real true Bigfoot hunters always have a woman in their party.
They always have what?
Males.
Oh, no.
They come to the female, and what they'll do is they have the female make screaming noises or yelling at dusk, usually, and sometimes that will draw the Bigfoot closer. If you go online, you can actually hear what a Bigfoot sounds like. Yeah, it's a very strange, weird scream. It's very, very loud. I've heard it. Very, very loud. It almost has a little bit of a metallic sound to it. It's a very strange sound.
It's a shrill. It's like a big, loud shrill.
Yeah, very strange sound.
I may have actually heard that before out here in Flagstaff, but I'm not sure. I can't remember. But I think either way I've heard it before. I think I'm pretty sure. So, yeah, go ahead.
They had each one take a watch because they knew this Bigfoot inhabited they were in a ravine, and on the other side of the ravine, they knew that Bigfoot was there. They had a lot of reports. So these guys go and they take her along. She's a hunter too.
Now, who's her? Who are you talking about?
I can't give you her name because I can't remember it.
It's a person. It's a person.
Yeah, it's part of the organization I used to belong to.
Okay, I hear you.
Yeah, I can't think of her name. There's several groups out there that do this. They had different ones taking watch at night, and so they would sit just outside of the campfire so that they could have a clear view, and that was one of those sites where it's pretty well lit. and they had her sitting off by herself. Everybody bedded down for the night, and she was the watchman for that time. And as she's sitting in her recliner, one came up behind her and smelled her hair.
Oh, wow.
You didn't hear it? She didn't know it was there until it smelled her hair, and then she could smell it, and then it took off as soon as she reacted to it. Ran off.
That's wild.
Another one of my friends camped in Ohio near Steubenville, the home of Dean Martin, at our golf course. Just to the side of a golf course is a campground. She was camping. She's a psychiatrist. She was camping, and during the night they had a big rainstorm. When they got up in the morning, their tent was surrounded by huge footprints, and she's a fairly tall lady. She said they took turns trying to jump as far as the footprints were, and they couldn't hit the mark. It was the footprints were so far apart.
Wow. And she was by herself?
No, she was camping with her children and another lady.
Wow. Wow.
And that was right in the area I lived in. Going back to my home, where we were, we got off the track there, where the two kids both saw, two different sets of kids saw a Bigfoot. The following day, I had a new girl being delivered to my house who had never been there with her grandmother. They come in the house all excited. They came from the city. They came in all excited saying, "We just saw a bear right across the road in front of us."
Oh, my God.
Finding it, it was squatting down, monkeying with something under a bush. It stood up. It walked across the road in front of the car. It turned its full body toward them, like Bigfoot do not turn their necks, they turn their body. It turned the body toward them and then turned back and went up over the hill, swung its arms in a straight, stiff fashion, which they tend to have a long, stiff fashion to their arms. They don't pump the way we do. And so at that point, I said, wait a minute, something's going on. So I took all the kids. The other two had just arrived back home, set them all in a different room. I said, draw a picture of what you saw. Every one of them drew the same thing as what the other one saw. The only difference was that the two on the trail drew a female that was short and red, reddish brown, and the ones at the creek drew the brown, brown, and the girls the dark brown.
Oh, interesting.
And going along with that, at one point we found what we couldn't figure out what it was. No children lived in our house. We were pretty much wilderness. We found these things where sticks were piled up like a teepee, in a circle like a teepee. There was 3 of them, not too far from our house. And the kids came to get me because they wanted me to see what it was. And it would be these sticks about maybe 1 inch to 2 inches wide, about 6 foot tall, where it had been broken off from the ground, and then put in a circle. And it looked like somebody was building a teepee. The only thing was the top was interwoven into a round, like a dome. And I didn't know until I joined the Bigfoot organization that was how they build their nests to sleep at night, and it's very similar to a gorilla's build.
Wow, interesting.
And that was near my house. The other thing we found, all these things I learned later because I didn't know. We knew nothing about Bigfoot when all this was going on. I didn't know about it until I joined the organization, and then I started finding out what all these things were. Going through our woods, we always used to marvel at the fact that the smaller trees sometimes would be broken off about 6 foot up.
Wow.
Standing straight up, and then the top half would still be attached, but would hang right down to the road, the trail. And what we found out was that they break these branches in that fashion to point the way for other ones coming through.
Oh, interesting.
Like but it's not like a human would do because it's up too high. And we always wondered how that happened when we would see it. The other thing was I would just get to sleep at night, and just as I would just doze off, like about 11 o'clock at night, this horrendous scream would take place near my bedroom window, which would wake me up, and I'd dash for the window, and I'd never see anything. And I was wondering what the heck it was. When I got out there, I found out that they like to come up to windows and peek in, and they often scream. The other thing that we had in our area was and we still have,
but you're saying that it would scream just to wake you up, just for the purpose of waking you up?
It comes to the windows and look in windows. It's very common for them to look in people's windows. They're curious. A lot of reports report them looking in windows. And apparently it would look in my window, and then as it went away, it would scream, because it sort of break it in my bedroom when it would scream, but I never could get to the window fast enough to see what it was doing on the big screen. And it was very weird. And that would go on for maybe 2 or 3 weeks, and then it wouldn't happen again for another year.
Because in the place where I was living at, where I told you I'd wake up and I'd feel paralyzed, I couldn't move. Maybe there was a Bigfoot looking in my window there. I don't know, and maybe that's why I was paralyzed. But I don't know that there's any Bigfoot sightings there in that place, that little town of Ridley where I lived at. We lived on the outskirts, but there's no real woods around there at all, and it's all farmland, and so I maybe there was a Bigfoot looking into my window. Maybe that's why I felt paralyzed. I don't know, but I don't think so. I don't think that was sneaking. I don't, like you said, I don't know if there was an abduction that took place or was taking place or whatever. But and I still don't understand that whole scenario. It's still beyond me. And I may never. I don't know. But it's just an experience that I came across years ago.
Yeah, that sounds more like an abduction experience or a visitation from otherworldly people. That's what that sounds like, from what other people have told me. Another thing that happens with Bigfoot is they often travel with Black Panthers.
Oh, really?
And Black Panthers do not only exist in the Florida Keys, where they're always talking about being down in the swamps in Florida. What they have is a black leopard down there. What we have is a real Black Panther. And it's multiple sightings here, lots and lots of sightings of it. It's very sleek, looks like a mountain lion, only a little bit smaller in stature, and it does not have the leopard spots. It hits the bright sunlight, it doesn't have the leopard spots. One of my friends saw it very close up. It came across the road in front of his truck carrying a baby deer. And it dropped the baby deer when he slammed on his brakes and went on. So he thought he was going to rescue the baby deer, and he got out of his truck to rescue the baby deer and found himself very close to the panther coming back after him. So he got a real good look at it. Another time, one of my friends saw a mama with her baby. And I've had several other people tell me this. Well, there's also a lot of reports, both here in Ohio that I'm aware of, because I'm most familiar with them because I lived in both places, of them traveling with the Black Panther. They think that the panther may actually be like a pet for them, because there was one incident in Ohio where a man was out on his porch going to shoot the panther that was in his yard, and a Bigfoot came charging at him like it was protecting the panther.
Oh, interesting. Huh.
So that was one of the incidences where, someone I knew had talked about that sort of thing. Right near my home, 2 guys in trucks going to work saw 2 of the Bigfoot carrying the back end of the cab they put on the back of a truck. They were carrying it out through the woods like they were taking it to something.
Oh, how weird.
All kinds of sightings, just lots and lots of sightings.
Huh.
The other thing that's different to them, and my kids wouldn't have known about this because we didn't have TV, but they all described it in their writing. It has a ridge on its head. It doesn't have the normal head like a human. It doesn't have like an ape head. It has like some sort of ridge on it.
Like it's pointy, like a helmet or something like that?
A little bit. It's not really a helmet. It's just kind of a strange shape to it.
Well, I'm just saying that it's kind of the shape of a helmet, like a bike helmet or something like that.
A little bit, yeah. A little bit like that, yeah. It's just, there's just, and all the stories all add up. I mean, they all tell similar, things. They describe it being similar. There is one in Ohio where the man the farmer had a bull that was very aggressive, and I think they said it was like a 1,500-pound bull, really, really big guy, and he was called Big Red. the farmer kept him in a pasture way away from the other cows because he was so aggressive. But he would just go there to check on him now and then. Some hunters happened to be passing through the area and witnessed a Bigfoot run down off the hill, knock this bull over, and kill him.
Wow. Wow.
And they verified that it had been killed in a very strange way. So that was another very, kind of strange incident. Some of the hunters out there were also had camped out one night in an area they knew to be a Bigfoot area. A storm came up. The Bigfoot wanted them out of there and was actually knocking down fairly good-sized trees at them. They were trapped because they couldn't get to their cars. They were too far away. And they really thought that they were in extreme danger. Eventually, they did get away. But they said it was throwing things at them. It was throwing smaller trees at them. It was knocking trees down. Just a lot of stuff. And I want to mention, they had Don Keating on, I think it was on South New Street one time. And he has all the footage of Bigfoot. He has lots of footage of it. He had, footprints, all kinds of sightings and everything. They showed a picture on there and showed it as though it was totally like 100 miles away. I mean, the person that they were showing, I swear, was a person. It did not look like a Bigfoot or anything that I've seen before. I think they were just trying to make it look like it wasn't real.
Huh. Wow.
It was like an on purpose to me because there was so much evidence he had, but the story they put it, I don't know if they were trying to make it more mysterious or what, and that was shot at South Fork State Park. They just, the way they presented it, it was like very iffy, but yet he has a lot of clear stuff, so there was really no reason for him to present it that way. They just like to make it sound very dramatic, I guess.
Huh. Interesting. So, what do you think that they really want or need?
I don't think they want anything. I think they live in the woods just like any other wild animal. I think that they have a higher intelligence than most animals. But then we have, the apes are more intelligent, gorillas are very intelligent. They seem to be able to be survivors. They travel at night more than during the day, so of course they're not seen often, so they probably have very good night vision. Seen a few times during the day, but not nearly as much as at night, where there's more sightings at night. So I think they're more just, I don't think they're as mysterious as we want them to be. There was also some mention in one thing I read that they had them, at one point, was listed as being on the endangered species list. They took it off the endangered species list because there's too many sites.
Wow. No kidding.
Yeah, I read that, I think, in one of my conservation magazines, like a couple of years ago.
So they seem to be populating more and more. Is that what I hear you saying?
Yeah, they're starting to be, yeah. And I think maybe it's not that they're being populated, but we're encroaching on territory by building and tearing down forests so much, and now we're seeing them more, because we're in their territory.
Huh. That's interesting.
Lots of reports. Teddy Roosevelt reported seeing one. It's written in one of his history books. The American Indians, and when they first had the first settlers coming in, the first settlers called them the man of the woods, and they reported them being in the woods and being afraid of them. They were afraid of them. So they've been reported for years and years and years here. In this country, and I know they've been reported in other countries, and they have lots of footage on it. Different places they have the footage on. So, yeah.
Now, earlier you said that there have been sightings of female Bigfoot. Is that correct?
Yeah, they see male and female. The females tend to be shorter. They usually stand the head or so less taller than the males. Males tend to be really big. Not unusual for them to be like 8 foot. That seems to be about the average for a male.
But I don't know if I've ever heard of any sightings of children or smaller Bigfoot. beings?
They have them, yeah, there are some. There's actually one about in the Appalachians. There's a history in the Appalachians where they talk about them being actually taken into villages. People had them actually working, like doing laundry and stuff, that they trained them or something. They lived together. And there's one about a female Bigfoot who got impregnated by a human male and had a baby. And this is in the Appalachians. Had a baby, and she took it out and washed it in the creek, and the baby died.
Oh, really? Wow. So, we're all out of time. If people want to get a hold of you, what's the best way to get a hold of you, Reverend Marietta?
Wait a second. I'm coughing again.
Yeah.
607-873-3947.
Okay. And I want to thank you for stopping by and sharing your expertise with us. Appreciate it. And I want to thank everybody for stopping by. And if you have any more information that you want to get to us, you can always email me, spiritualimageproductions@yahoo.com, spiritualimageproductions@yahoo.com. Or if there's any other paranormal activity that you want to talk about, that you know, a number of stories that you want to tell us about, email me or get a hold of me. I want to thank all of you. Have a God-Goddess weekend. Be the love that you are, always have been, and always will be. Aloha.
Aloha.
Thank you for using Blog Talk Radio. Goodbye.
And that is a wrap.
Your conference recording has stopped.
Okay. So what'd you think?
Do you smoke?
No.
Why?
I don't. Why?
Hello?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Andrew?
Yeah, hang on. Hang on. Can you hear me now, Marietta? Aloha. Can you hear me? Marietta? Marietta, can you hear me? Aloha.
Oh, my phone kept blinking out on me.
Yeah, I know there's some weird stuff going on. So
Do you smoke?
yeah, you asked me that and you didn't hear me, but for some reason. But no, I don't. Why? What's going on?
Usually that happens when I'm talking to someone who smokes.
But that might be confirming that somebody might be screwing around with my radio show.
Oh,
you might be picking that person
it's
up.
really weird because when I'm doing readings, about 100% of the time, if that happens when I'm doing a reading, that's the person who's most like talking to.
So you might be picking whoever it is that's screwing around with my show. You might have been picking that person up.
Oh, maybe.
So that confirms that I'm not just out there mouthing off and just in the air just complaining, but and that there is somebody that's been toying with my show, and they usually cut off my meditation, and then they usually cut off some of my other shows, and then I started calling them an idiot, whoever it was, and they don't like that. They don't like to be called an idiot, so that's why I called them an idiot on the air. And then literally they stopped doing it for a long, long time, and then recently, in the last 2, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, they've been coming back and doing the same shit again. And so you might be picking that person up, and that person might be helping. Yeah, oh yeah. Got it. No, you called back in, and you asked me if I smoked, and I kept saying yes, and you couldn't hear me or something. I don't know what was going on, but yeah. Yeah, so I finally just hung up and then called you back, and then again you didn't hear me or something, so I had to call back again. So that's well, we had that one woman come in, and she was interested in talking about the full moon, and yeah, she called in, and then she left. She said she was going to stick around, and so I left her on the phone. And then, but I muted her, and then a few minutes later she left. So that she got her information. What do you think? Yeah, we got some pretty good information on it. Yeah, right. I guess we'll have to wait till next time, whatever. Yeah. All right. I don't know. I want to start making efforts to start studying that UFO